Hey, what's up, guys? Ryan here, DFS 5 pack. Just want to take a couple minutes this Saturday morning, and I want to talk about the batter versus pitcher statistic and using it for MLB DFS. Now, I got nothing prepared for this show, so we're going to fly a little bit off the cuff. For my money, this is one of the more controversial statistics that you're going to find within the DFS community. You will have people that both think it is the greatest statistic for trying to figure out which hitters and pitchers to use, and you'll have people who think it's the most useless statistic. Like most things in life, I think common sense will tell you the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. I personally like the statistic, but I think you have to use it with a grain of salt at times. For example, if you see a guy's 3 for 6 off somebody, that doesn't mean anything to me. I need a bigger sample size in order for this to mean something in my eyes for something that's going to be repetitive. For all you know, two of those were bloop singles, and he had put together, five awful at bats, in those 6 times up there. So it doesn't really mean anything to you. Like pretty much everything, whether it be, politics and polling questions, market research, you need more data to work off. A Major League Baseball manager will usually say that they're looking for at least 7 to 10 at bats between a pitcher and a batter for them to put any credence in it. So I'm going to listen to the professionals on that one. And I'll take it even a step further. I need to see at least a dozen at bats before it's something that I'm really putting into my arsenal of statistics. Now, that all being said, if I were to be looking at, for example, I know my my Brewers open up against San Diego in a couple of days. Pretty sure they got a left-hander on the mound. Now, I know from years of playing this, and there's a lot of other people know, Ryan Braun absolutely destroys left-handed pitching, right? I think most of us know that who play MLB DFS real hardcore. Now, I don't have this stat. And this is just make believe. If I looked and I saw that Ryan Braun was 7-9 off of Clayton Richard, and I know that he just rakes off of lefties, okay, it's not the reason that I'm using him, but it's another form of validation of why I would want to spend the money on Ryan Braun. Oh, side note, guys, if you haven't checked it out yet, the first MLB DFS contest is up there. Go give it a look. I scouted that thing over for about a half hour last night. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one with all those big money pitchers, and most of the good hitters are going to be big money. It's going to be difficult to fill out a lineup, but we're all playing on the same playing field, so that's the beauty of DFS. So anyways, getting back to the batter versus pitcher statistics. So very rarely do I use it as a standalone statistic. Like if I'm doing my research early in the morning again, and I see, Mike Trout is 3 for 12 off a guy, and it doesn't mean anything to me. For all I know, he had 3 hard line drives or all 3 of them with bloop singles. Doesn't mean anything. Now, where you do use it as a standalone statistic is when you start to get those really, really big sample sizes. And some of them are going to be, for example, Bryce Harper off Julio Teheran owns them, just flat ownage. If that's on the slate, I'm looking to go that direction. I think his teammate Ryan Zimmerman really owns the knuckleball last year, for example. But that's, besides the point. But there's a few other of them out there. Mike Trout and Taijuan Walker used to be a real big thing. Now, Taijuan Walker has moved down to the NL West, so you don't really deal with that one as much. Evan Longoria off of CC Sabathia, just absolute ownage and with a gigantic sample size. Again, I don't have the numbers pulled up in front of me, but I want to say Evan Longoria is something like that's like career 400 off of CC with just a plethora of doubles and home runs. So that's one you can specifically lean on as standalone statistics. But for me to lean on this as a standalone stat, I need 30, maybe 40 at bats before I really, really want to lean on something. Outside of that, I use it as a validation. Again, when it's a split that I already know, maybe it's a hot hitter that I already liked heading into the day. I mean, if I'm looking at a guy who's gone 16 for his last, 23 at the plate with 4 or 5 home runs, I'm already looking at him anyways. And he's going up against a pitcher that he's 9 of 20 with 3 home runs off of. Okay, that's enough of a reason to really want to encourage me to go into that go into that direction. I think where people get sour on the statistic a lot of times is they look and they see, hitter A is 8 of 18 off, pitcher B. That doesn't mean a ton to me. The other thing I like to look for, and I get a lot of this, there's a website. Let me share it real quickly. Now, they don't have the stats up here yet, but you can move around with it, the different game dates and stuff like this. It's called Daily Baseball Data. I like this one for both the pitching and the hitting when I want to look at past experience as a team because it shows the whole team right there, and it's really easy to use. Like if I pop open a slate, and I see that Carlos Martinez of the Cardinals has 225 career plate appearances. And what I mean by that is he's pitched 225 plate appearances. The opposing, we'll just say the Cincinnati Reds, and the team has a combined batting average off of him of 150 with a strikeout rate out of 1 out of 3. Now I know I want to look really, really hard at Carlos Martinez, but usually up here they'll have listed the whole team. And it gives you a really good opportunity to just kind of break it down, because I like to look at it a little bit for individuals, also a little bit for team. But again, let's use bigger sample sizes on this one, because to me, that's a key thing. The more at bats, the better. Again, got to be more. I think you sour on it if you, like you say, you just see small amounts. But I like to look for the extra base hits. I think that's the point I was kind of trying to get at before. If I see that you're 8 of 18 off somebody, but it's like 7 singles, I mean, singles don't mean you hit the ball that hard. You can just get a seeing eye single, and 18 at bats is not a lot of experience. So again, without any other statistics to support that, I'm not leaning on that one very hard. It doesn't mean a lot to me. Now, on the flip side, if you're 8 of 18 with 6 home runs and 2 doubles, okay, that's a whole different story. If I saw something like that, now I'm really into it, because that means you absolutely tattooed that ball all over the place all those times. So I think a lot of you guys watching this probably played baseball growing up. If you played for a long period of time, you know how baseball really works. If there's a pitcher, sometimes you just see guys better than other. I remember in Little League from the ages of like 10 to 12, and then what's the name of the league after that? I think it's Babe Ruth or whatever. I can't remember the name of the leagues right now. But there was about a 5-6 year period where there was this kid, John Verhane. I absolutely just owned, hit like half of my total career home runs off this guy. And every time I got up, I just absolutely tattooed it. I just loved seeing the ball from him. Now, that all changed in high school when he developed a wicked curveball, and I could no longer hit him. And I think he struck me out like the last 6 times that I faced him. So it can be an ever-changing flow, and I just think that's a little bit of like a real-life experience. Again, I'm not comparing Little League and Babe Ruth and high school ball to the major leagues, but guys change and guys develop, so I like to watch things like that. I think a real-life example of that without looking into it further, so this is just eye test, what I've been looking at is Jacoby Ellsbury used to absolutely own Chris Archer like early on, like a flabbergasting batter versus pitcher statistic. But having watched a lot of those games since then, I think Chris Archer over the last 4 or 5 games that they've met up has really, really pitched to Jacoby Ellsbury much more effectively. Also, Ellsbury's gotten worse, so I mean that's a bigger part of it as well too. So you can see those things, but also in the back of your mind, try to track it a little bit, because things change. Pitchers all of a sudden figure out how to get a guy out, or a guy can change and all of a sudden figure out how to hit a pitcher. Things change. I guess that's the big point I wanted to make across right there. So again, that's my thought on the batter first pitcher stat. I like it, but I think you have to know how to use it in the proper way and not just follow it blindly like it's the be-all. Know that the more at-bats that you see, the more effective it is. If you see a guy's 50 of 100 off a guy, that's a big sample size. 5 of 10, you're starting to get there, but you're not quite there yet. So those are my thoughts. I'm sure some people will differ on both directions on that one, but that's the joy of DFS, guys. We can all evaluate different ways. There's multiple ways to get to the right conclusion. Let's go kick some butt, guys. Season starts in a few days. If you can't tell, I'm getting really excited. The NBA product, it's a little rough right now. If you watched the games last night, the last couple of nights, it's tough to watch towards the end of the season like this. So I'm excited for the NBA playoffs and baseball to start right here. So if you guys want to join the DFS 5-pack, go check out the website. We got multiple types of memberships. We got an MLB only package for only $99 right now. That covers the full season. It's just the MLB info, but that gets you 6 months of baseball for a really, really fair price. Otherwise, monthly, annual, lifetime customers, you'll double up. You'll get basketball and baseball for the rest of the basketball season and the baseball season for however long you buy in for. So we're here to help. We both love watching baseball. Let's go get it this year, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.